Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And we are here in Colombia. We made it, fam. We got through. We thought there'd be a little problems in the beginning, but we did make it through. We are now in Colombia for this historic election. I believe there was a debate the other night. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the debate was between Gustavo Petro and his two other opponents. Their names are, let me look it up. Their names are Fico Gutierrez and also Sergio Fajardo. Gutierrez is the main opponent, and by all accounts, Gustavo Petro actually won the debate. And of course, he's getting thrown that he's a terrorist, that he's affiliated with communism, even though he's really not that far left, actually. It's very similar to how Pedro Castillo was treated when it came to his them trying to tie him to the Shining Path in Peru. It's the same type of attacks that he's affiliated with this radical faction when he really no longer is. And his vice president and him have both received death threats, which is why they're traveling with massive security. He wasn't going to be in the debate initially anymore because of the death threats, but then he decided to come back in, and they just had this debate. So it's a big deal.
We're going to be obviously following the elections like we normally do. I think a lot of times we kind of concentrate on the process rather than who's the president and who could be the president. That's what we do. But there has been a lot of craziness going on in the country. There was a protest the other day. Someone in our delegation got gassed. Like you talked about, Petro at one point was just going to kind of shelve it and stay in hiding because of fearful of his life being taken. What do you expect happening with this election, fam? Because we do have to talk about the fact that this is Colombia, which is the only NATO country in Latin America. And Petro has said that he plans to go back and build the relationships with Venezuela. And a lot of people say that's a big no-no.
Right. So they're trying to paint him as like a socialist Venezuelan Maduro type of thing, even though he isn't. And so this election is extremely important because, as Pasta said, Colombia is a NATO partner. And so that means that Colombia basically has NATO status, even though they're in Latin America. And they're the only country in Latin America and the Caribbean to have this status. Argentina and Brazil should be following soon. And so we're looking at the Brazilian election. But this is a very important election because if they do defeat this narco government, it's going to signal a shift in Latin America, bigger than what has been happening. We've seen it happen with, of course, the election of Pedro Castillo, the election of Gabriel Boric in Chile, the maintenance of force in Nicaragua with Daniel Ortega, the re-election of Ortega, of course, the Omar Castro being elected in Honduras, and El Salvador. It's kind of its own rogue thing, but it's still not 100% under the United States at all by any means. And so there's this sort of shift happening in Latin America where there's an alignment with Russia and China, especially with the Belt and Road Initiative coming into these countries, and the United States is losing its unilateral hold. So this is all signaling all of that. And of course with Mexico and AMLO kind of ramping up all of the things like trying to have the nationalization of lithium all throughout and having forces and alliances in Latin America, this is signaling a huge shift. And so what we're seeing is that if this election goes towards Gustavo Pietro, it's going to really signal like a marked shift in Colombia. A lot of these people, I would say it's similar to Honduras in terms of they've been fighting this narco government, and there's a lot of alliances being made in the Liberal Party of Colombia to try to get rid of the narco government and have a more democratic type of government, even though this candidate, Gustavo Pietro, isn't very far left at all. He's criticized Nicaragua and Venezuela and the like. So it's not like he's not by any means a Daniel Ortega, but it would definitely be a significant positive change for Colombia. And a lot of people, even people who are not part of the working class, are done with this controlled era government. So they're fighting essentially for their life right now in this election. And we're witnessing a lot of protests. We're witnessing thousands of people on the streets in support of Gustavo Petro. And they're attempting to postpone the election in order to stop this momentum. But it looks like it's not going to really happen. The trend today in Colombia was hashtag SOS Colombia, which is, I think, a bad hashtag because Cuba had it and it was a fake thing. You know, it was like a U.S. color revolution type of promotion. But in this case, it's coming from the Petro people, SOS Colombia. They want people to see what's happening in Colombia, and they want to help people get rid of this government. And we had somebody today that we talked to that said that they're getting threats if they vote. So they're being kind of threatened to not vote and to not go and support, of course, Gustavo Petro, who is the closest thing to a normal government that Colombians can get in the moment right now.
If you go back to the Rick Ross days, the Freeway Rick Ross, the original stuff, when it goes to the Ira-Contra situation, it was fingered that the CIA is heavily implanted in this country right here, that they work with the cartels, that they help move all the cocaine out of here. So for me to see another government come in that's not friendly to the CIA and not friendly to the State Department is going to be something like kind of crazy. That's why there's been talks of the actual current government trying to suspend the elections and push them aside. And not only that, we did have a friend of ours who couldn't get into the country. Maybe you want to give a little insight to that.
Yeah, so our friend Terry Matson is a coordinator for Code Pink. She basically mostly does the YouTube videos. What the fuck is happening in Latin America is the name of her show on YouTube, and she's great. We've done several delegations with Terry. She's an amazing person, super, super anti-imperialist, even more than the organization itself. And she is, the one that really got us involved in this whole situation. And she went on through Bogota. She landed. As soon as she landed, they were waiting for her. She has, Venezuelan, Cuban visas, and they rejected her. Essentially, it wasn't even a deportation because she didn't spend any time in Colombia at all. What it was a rejection to come into the country at all. So she was detained, and they took her passport, and then they sent her back to Mexico. They marked her as an Argentine national, even though she's not Argentinian. She's a U.S. citizen, and she lives in Mexico. So they basically had her marked down because of all the work she's done. She's done a lot of these delegations. She's an anti-imperialist. She's marked with Code Pink and everything, and everybody denounced this. It's completely wrong. They saw that she was who she was, and so they were waiting for her to try to get rid of her, and it's really crazy to me that they were able to do that. She said that there was very little conversation. They basically just told her no, put her in a back room, and she had to wait to be taken back the next morning. And everybody just went out in social media in support of her. And, we were scared that we wouldn't be allowed in, considering the fact that, I will be going to Russia soon, so I have a Russian visa. And it's no secret to anybody. I have a Russian visa, and it's literally in my passport. And of course, this is a very pro-NATO country. Russia is at war with NATO, essentially right now. So it's a very precarious situation, and we're just there to observe and to really make sure that the elections go fairly. And what that message did by preventing Terry from coming is say that they don't want people to come and observe the elections, that there's shenanigans coming, and a lot of people are already saying that there's going to be an attempt to rig the elections in one form or another, because this is a first round, right? And in case people don't know, if Gustavo Petro doesn't secure 50% of the vote, there's going to be a second round. So he's got to go at least 50% of the vote, or there will be a second round. And in my experience in watching these elections, it's the second round where they usually try to do the most damage, and where, we saw it happen before. I forget where it was. But we saw it happen before, where they tried to rig the elections. It might have been Ecuador. It might have been Ecuador, or a recent country where they were able to turn around the election. I think it was Ecuador, where the progressive or candidate was winning, and then on the second round somehow the far right candidate began getting votes. And so that's something that can potentially happen. And obviously, we're here for the first round. I won't be able to come to the second round, but it's extremely important that this election goes well. There's lots of protests in the streets right now. There's a lot of people coming out. So it is one of these things that I think we really, really need to be watching, especially because there's so much geopolitical connections with everything happening around, especially in Venezuela too right now. As soon as the Ukrainian-Russia conflict is over and, they're shifting to Taiwan, China, well, they're looking to Latin America right now. They're looking to the global south, because the global south is where there's a lot of opposition happening and a lot of allegiances to China and Russia.
Wrap it up. All right. So that is going to put us into the wrap-up stage and why we are here, because it's so important. As you saw, our friend Terry Matson denied coming into the country because with this whole situation, what Fam talked about, if they do get it to the second round, the chances are that he has no shot. So he's got to wrap it up in the first round. It was Evo who was winning in the first round, but they denied him and then cooed him shortly after. So it's going to be a big press. What is the Convo Couch going to do? Well, we're going to do what we normally do. We're going to analyze every single part of this election. In fact, we're going to scrutinize it. Everything from the voting process, how long it takes, the identifications, the public counting, every single little bit of it. We have to get our eyes on there. Terry had told us, we spoke to her on the phone today. She wasn't able to make it here, but she's so happy that we are here. So we're going to continue to need your help, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to put the link down below once again to our Give, Send, Go. It's givesendgo.com/support the Convo Couch. It's a very expensive trip, but it's a very important trip, and that's why we're here. So if you can help us out in any way, we don't get that CNN money and that CNN time, so we depend upon you. So please tune on in throughout the next couple days. We're going to be reporting more. We got a lot of things planned throughout the week. We're going to be meeting activists on the ground in Colombia that's going to talk about the situation with the narco trafficker, the police, the people, every little bit of it. You know, when Fam does this stuff, we get cray-cray. So keep your eyes watching for the Convo Couch as we cover this historic election here in Colombia. Pasta here. Fam, you got anything else to say?
No, guys, thanks so much for your support. You guys helped us get here, and hopefully we can continue to report everything as much as we can. We have comrades that are also going to, want to disperse our reporting everywhere else. So look out for that as well from Fiorella and
Pasta. And don't forget, after this one, we're going to be planning to go to Brazil to watch that big election here. That's going to be Bolsonaro versus Lula. And thank you so much for supporting. Convo out, everybody. Pasta Jardula.
bye, fams.